little bit of all those things, but I think more than anything tonight, I probably would love to ask your permission if, I think I don't want to give you guys script. I don't want to give you, when I trained at Palm Springs, it was a really cool presentation because I got to go into the crowd and I got to pull things from people. So it was more real than just me telling you something. So we can do stuff like that tonight as well, by all means. But I think I just want to share my honest journey about how I've led my team and the mistakes I've made so you guys don't have to go through them. Would that be okay? Give a thumbs up if that's cool. Awesome. So we'll do the raw stuff as we cruise along here. The first raw piece is probably our story. If that's okay, I'm going to share that with you guys first. So it kind of gives you a baseline of where this conversation is going to go tonight. So there was a guy, his name was Warren Lance, and you probably know who he is. I see a couple of reactions already in the crowd. And for those of you that know him now, think of his boisterous, loud, energetic personality and turn it up by about 20. And that's what he was like before Isogenics came into his life. I think it was like it helped to slow him down a bit. So you have to imagine a guy like him coming into my clinic on a regular basis. And it got so bad, you guys, that I literally would hear him. And we had a massive clinic, a big horseshoe shape. There's 13 treatment rooms, 2 secretaries, 2 different wings. I heard him in the waiting room, and I had the furthest office in the back corner. So here's me. I'm on my hands and knees. I go to the middle, and there's a little bifold door where I can get to the secretary where the people in the front couldn't see me. And I used to say, tell him I'm out at lunch. And because I just didn't want to keep talking to him. And so the reason I'm sharing this with you is that even though I like to say that Warren was ignorance on fire at that time, and if he was right beside me, and I've shared this story so many times, even when he is beside me, so I'm not slagging my best buddy, but he was ignorance on fire, and he came in the only way he knew how, which was like a bull in a china shop. And so there was a lot of avoidance that was going on for me, but I'll just tell you that, I was sort of that jaded practitioner because I really believed that everybody sort of deserved to be heard. And Meg and I used to get pitched quite often. In fact, we had this beautiful closet where the vacuum cleaner was, where we had literally shelves of all these different products, from Herbalife to vitamins to juices to things that you're supposed to put in your car to make it run better, to all these network marketing companies of people that would come in, and we'd be like, yes, thank you. But nothing ever touched the button. And that's the message I think that we'll get into later on, is that what I mean by the button is people think that there's a special language to go and talk to a practitioner. There isn't at all. It's just that I think people skip talking to them. And I hope that lands a little bit. Talking to them means that you're actually paying attention to what's happening for them in their life and their practice. You're actually the one asking them lots of questions. What frustrates them most about what's happening in their practice? If they could change anything, what would it be? How often do you get a chance to go on holidays? What are your insurance claims like? How much paperwork do you have to do around that? All the things that cause quote unquote pain are the things that people miss and don't ask about. So Warren, through his persistence, and I'm so glad he actually won that award one year at Celebration, the Persistence Award. What he did is he basically, after times of showing me photos and things that I just looked at, and I just finished, taking a sports nutrition specialist course, and, none of this made sense to me. He finally said to me, he says, hey, Kyle, listen, he said, do you trust your body? I said, I absolutely do. And back then I was, I wouldn't say I was a stage competitor for bodybuilding, but I was very much active in weight training. So he said, you trust your body? I said, yeah. He says, if you try this out and you don't feel anything whatsoever, he says, I'm going to give you your money back. And so guess what I did? I looked at him and I said, you're on. Not only am I going to prove your ass wrong, it's not going to cost me a dime, and you're never going to talk to me about it again. That was the handshake deal I gave Warren Lance. So my apologies for any kind of language if there's young kids on the line. So we might have one more person that came on. I'll have to mute. That's some background noise there. So if there's anybody on the vehicle or on a cell phone in the vehicle, you might have to mute yourself. So that's kind of how it started, guys. That's, but here's something that most people don't know as well, is that, when I came on with Warren to prove him wrong, of course, back then, all we had was a 9-day program. There was no Ionic Supreme. There were no e-shots. There were no bars. There was nothing. Your only choice for auto ship was the total health and wellness system. That's it. 90 to start, total health and wellness system for maintenance. That's all we had. And so what happened is I had such tremendous results, as you know, in the 9-day system, that I started grilling him with questions. And what he did is he put me in contact with the formulators. I was able to talk to everybody, the scientific advisory board, the whole works, because these are things that I thought I needed to know in order to be able to talk to people about isogenics. But that's a myth, and we're going to get to that. Because when I thought I needed to know all this stuff, the poor people around me who would hear me talk to people, and I would give them statistics about what was happening outside in the world, what was going on with the food sources, what was happening in the air, the water. And I would tell people about all this terrible stuff, and no wonder they would look at me and make excuses they had to go get a haircut no matter what hour of the day it was. It's because I was doing this thing where, if you hear me from stage, I talk about interested versus interesting. I was really sounding interesting is what I was. Once again, like we were talking about the practitioners, I wasn't paying attention to that person. I wasn't asking them questions. I was just like this great savior that was coming to just cure everybody with all these interesting facts. That was where my mindset was. So just as I accused Warren as being ignorance on fire, that was me too. So I just want to let you know that our latest growth from 6 to 8 star, I don't think I've even talked about the products once. And I just want that to land for you. I thought that it used to be such an important component of what I needed to do to have people be interested in isogenics that I couldn't have been any further from the truth. And what we do with our team, and I'm going to talk about this in a bit, is that the only thing we do is we might have to, oh, there we go. Perfect. Thank you. The only thing I do with my team is we talk about 3 fast facts. Any of you, were you guys at the Washington ICU? I think it was last year or beginning of last year. It was one of the biggest ICUs. It was amazing. And what I taught the crowd in product is just 3 fast facts. Because at the end of the day, that's all you really need to know. The rest of it, what do? We can send somebody somewhere, right? So as I said at the beginning, do I have permission to sort of speak from my mistakes rather than giving you some language? So this is what I've learned over the last probably 3 years. And we've started something new that's sort of transformed how people are growing in the team. And I've taken for granted that people would know that what I know. And with that said, keep in mind, I don't talk about the products as much anymore. But I still took for granted on how people would go out and connect and how people would go out and build their business. And so as people were getting slowly, bit by bit, frustrated that things weren't happening for them, they were thinking that this business was not for them. And it couldn't be further from the truth. And I'll tell you why. It was because how I set them up and how I put them out in the field, so to speak. So what I want you to think about, and I'm sorry that this is the only way I can create an analogy for this, but I think it'll sink in faster. But imagine being, there's 5 different people that are going to go out into the field. Because when we all go in the field, we're all doing the exact same thing. I'm connecting the way you're connecting. We're all doing the same thing. We're trying to connect with people, look for the solutions that we can help them with, and create that fit. So when you think of a soldier going out to the field, they all have a job, just as we have our job when we go and connect. But imagine this. Imagine that one soldier gets to go out and he perhaps has a knife, all right? The next soldier goes out and he has a knife and maybe a sidearm. And the next soldier goes out, the third guy has a knife, a sidearm, and maybe a bulletproof vest. The fourth guy, because I'm going to talk about our 5 beliefs, the fourth guy goes out, he's got his knife, his sidearm, a vest, and maybe a machine gun. And then the 5th one has all of those plus a helmet. At the end of the day, all of them going out to do the exact same job, who is going to survive the longest? Probably the guy that's not, yeah, thank you for putting up number 5. Number 5. And here's why. And this is how I'm going to relate it to how I've set people up with the business and the mistakes that I've made and now what I'm doing that's different. The first thing that I want you guys to really get clear on before you go and connect is that the number one thing is whether you do a kitchen table talk with your leader or you do it with yourself, is that if you don't have your own strong vision, that means that you have to pretend that seriously from this 3 years from now, that your isogenics business is really kicking it, that you are earning an income that has blown you out of the water, and that you now have time freedom that you've never had before. What would be the things that you'd be doing? And so I go through this with them. So I have them go, not from today, what your vision is today. You have to actually teleport yourself ahead 3 to 5 years with your business succeeding. And so we write those things down, and I don't let them finish until we get to a point where there's a contribution component to it. That means whether it is that they're doing something locally or doing something abroad, or even right down to what they're doing with their children. But there has to be a contribution part. Because you've heard this over and over again. Everything I'm going to teach you tonight, there's no new rocket science, but I'm going to give you a twist to it that hopefully will make it land and sink differently. So that's the number one thing that has to be there. Otherwise, taking a step forward, you're just doing it out of conscience. You're not doing it with purpose. So now we're going to go into those 5 areas of belief. I talked about the armor. All right. I described those 5 soldiers now. So I want you to think about this when we go into these 5 areas of belief. Because I asked these questions a little bit differently. For those of you that have been to David Wood's University in Action, we talk about the areas of belief when it comes to the 5 areas, product, company, so on and so forth. But here's how I set people up differently so they're armed when they go out into the field. This is what I would ask you guys tonight. And we are all muted, so just use your hands, okay? This is a 1, this is a 2, this is a 5, so to speak, okay? So if I was to ask you right now, your belief level on a scale of 0 to 10 in the products, probably everybody would say 10, without a doubt. But this is how I ask it with my team. As I say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well could you describe to me 3 fast facts of each of the 5 pillars? On a scale of 1 to 10, 3 fast facts on every single one of the pillars. So if anybody gives me 10 right now, I'm going to ask you to unmute, and I'm going to have you describe to me 3 fast facts of product B or isogenesis. So let's just for giggles and laughs, let's go for some truth here. Because I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest with you guys tonight. I want you to be honest with me because I want this to land for you. So what would be the average? Let's give some numbers on your ability to describe 3 fast facts on the 5 pillars. Give me some signs. We got 4s, we got 5s, we got 7s, 5ers, 3. Awesome. This is why this conversation is so important. My fear when I went out there is I was worried about what to say, just in case somebody asked me a question. So what did I do? I memorized every product inside and out, plus the ingredients and what they did and how they did it. I don't know if, hopefully you guys are all young enough that you never saw me train product for 2.5 years. That's all I used to do was train product. And so I'd be the guy on stage that would literally break down Ionic Supreme to the absolute little nth degree. And everybody's eyes are wide open and they're scribbling notes like crazy. And you're like, oh my gosh, that was such a good presentation. I go, well, what did you learn from it? And people go, well, it was good. Like you had so much stuff. You didn't learn anything because there was too much. So I want you to imagine this. You're out connecting with somebody and you just happen to share your story and they ask about what isogenics is and you tell them about it. And they say, hey, listen, I'm already taking the shake. Why would I take yours? What would you say? Would you try to defend it? Would you go into detail? What would you do? Right? But if you had 3 fast facts and you memorized and you knew them, with posture, you can stand right there, say, well, I don't really know that much about your shake, but here's what I know about mine. And you got it. And if they ask more questions, where do you send them? isoproduct.com. Someone's out there and they say, hey, listen, you know what? I do the master cleanse. I've done that. And listen, I know about cleansing. I get you have a cleanse, but why should I bother doing your cleanse? You could sit there and go, well, because ours is the best and we're the best company in the world and we have scientific studies and we have all the stuff. And what you're doing is you're digging yourself a hole. Because why are people afraid of network marketing? Because they're afraid of sounding like a salesman. Well, stop it. You don't have to defend isogenics. You don't have to prove it. But how cool would it be if you said, well, listen, I've never tried the master cleanse myself, but here's what I know about our cleanse. And you go through 3 fast facts. And I can give these to Trish. We have them all on a piece of paper, and they're taken right from isogenics. What I find between the website and their fast facts is there's probably 7 or 8 per product. We break it down to just 3. And if people want more, they can go to isoproduct.com. And even down to vitamins. I take Centrum. I'm good. I take my vitamins. Why would I take yours? They cost too much. And what's really cool is we have the language for that. So that's what I want you to think about when you're going out into the field around your armor. Are you a person, so the 5 out of 10s, all you got really is a pocket knife, a sidearm, and maybe a vest if you're lucky. So think of it that way, because what prevents you from going from your head to your heart where you're supposed to be when you're connecting with somebody is because you're worried about what to say next. If that makes sense to you, just put your hand up. So I want to free you from that, because I lived in that little prison for quite a while. And so what I was worrying about doing is coming up with some fancy language about the shake and some really compelling evidence about the Ionic Supreme and just ways to wow people. But once again, I was being interesting versus interested in them. So I freed myself up so I can go from my head to my heart, the biggest distance most people will ever travel, to be able to connect with somebody. So know your fast facts through them for each of the products. That's the number 1 thing. The number 2 area of belief, we talk about the company itself. And so I want you to imagine that, maybe you're talking with somebody and they actually do have a little bit of a business background. And they're listening to what you're doing. And they're like, you know what, this makes sense to me. This plan B makes sense to me. This way of having a secondary source of income really makes sense to me. We've done investing before. We've done this before. Now it's really important to me. Who tell me a little bit about who runs this ship. Because anybody who has a little bit of background is going to ask you that question. So here comes the next truth bomb. On a scale of 1 to 10, how well could you give 3 beautiful fast facts for Jim, Kathy, Eric, and John? And just for fun, because I'll ask you, don't forget, okay? I would say, hey, listen, give me 3 fast facts about Jim Cooper. And so who right now knows that they're not at a 10 with that? How about that? Awesome. So all we want to do, once again, I'll give these to Tricia. She can distribute it to you guys. We're not going to go through them tonight. That'll waste our time. I'd rather you look through them yourself. And what I get the team to do is I get them to get flashcards. And so when you hold on to the shake, you flip it over, there's 3 fast facts. Read them in the morning, read them at night. Read them in the morning, read them at night. 2 weeks later, you're done. It's part of you. So when you're out there talking, you don't have to be worried what to say anymore. And if someone asks you a question, you don't have to be worried what to say. So, third one is the compensation plan. Now, let's just pretend that Tammy and I are at Starbucks and we're talking about her business and what she's got going on. And there happens to be somebody behind us that's sort of eavesdropping. So I get up to go to the bathroom and she walks over to Tammy and she says, hey, listen, I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but are you with Isogenics? Tammy goes, yeah, I am. And she goes, well, you know what? I'm actually here with a couple of my leaders. I'm in network marketing myself. I'm with company V. And right now, things aren't looking good. I've got about 10,000 people on my team and I'm a 6-figure earner and I'm looking for a new home. Could you explain to me right now how you actually get paid in Isogenics? So here's your question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how well could you explain you share, they share on a napkin to a network marketer right now if I got you to hold up a piece of paper and do it for me? Love it. You guys are like right into the business. Bam. All right. So I'm going to give you another truth bomb. How many of you guys got teams? Okay. This is what I tell every single one of my leaders. I have a leadership call before I do my team call. And I always say that at the beginning of every call, they know exactly what I'm going to say. It's not about you. It's not about you. You may be a 10, but how well have you prepared your people when they're going out in the field to be a 10? How many times have you practiced with your downline to move them towards a 10? How many times do you call them out of the blue and say, hey, listen, can you explain to me? I do surprise Zoom calls. We get on there and I pull up my whiteboard and I say, hey, listen, quick, describe to me you share, their share. They go, what? I go, yeah, right now. You said you were 10 and 10 yesterday. Let's go for it. And they choke. That was what happens. Because imagine this, Tammy, that lady says something to Tammy. Tammy's like trying to scribble something on a piece of paper. And then, you know, the lady leaves and then she comes back to Starbucks the next day. I happen to be there with my wife and she says, you know, you were with that girl the other day. And I just want to ask you a question. You know, how do you get paid in isogenics? And she shares the same story she shared with Tammy. And I quickly write on a piece of paper and I give it to her. And then we have a super Saturday and Tammy comes and I'm there with that gal and about 40 of her people. You'd want to puke, right? That's why it's so important to relieve yourself of the stress of thinking, I don't know what to do. Or, heck, I may give myself a 10, but what if I'm really in that situation? Can I pull it out? So that's the third area. The fourth area is the profession. Now, I word this a little bit different. People will say, how much do you believe in the profession of network marketing? And people will say, well, hey, Warren was successful and he enrolled Michael Klaus, he was successful. And yeah, I'm a 10 out of 10. So here's how I change it. And here's how I'd like you to receive it. I'm going to give it to you in two ways. On a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable are you saying when people say what you do for a living to say, I'm a professional network marketer? Or this is what I used to say, because I do both. I'll say, let me just ask you this. How much do you love the profession of network marketing? And the key word's love. How much do you love the profession of network marketing? So the reason I say love or how comfortable are you at saying you're a professional network marketer is you want to get to the truth right away, because the faster you get there with your new person, the faster you can give them the anecdote. This is where we're going to take them on a tour. We're going to go onto YouTube. We're going to show them the David Wood Network Marketing Mythbuster, see that 15 times, video. We're going to give them the Robert Kiyosaki CDs. We're going to have them in conversation. We're going to put them on the Amplified podcast because we want them to start to believe that, oh my gosh, listen to all these people, normal people, that are doing this profession. I could be one of them. So that's why I asked you, how much do you love the profession of network marketing? And then the last one, of course, is yourself. And I said this on stage. I was at New Year's Kickoff on Kathy's panel a few years back, and I went through this exact same thing. And I said, you know, for those of you, and I think David's tagged it as a sixth one now on his belief levels, but I said, what's your belief on a scale of 1 to 10 of being successful with the profession of network marketing? Those two are probably the most crucial ones. And it's when people have a very high score. And so then when they have a high score, I say, all right, well, what we'll do is we're going to give you some activities to do this week. And when they don't do them, I always come back. And this is another thing I tell the leaders on the leadership call. The word for our year this year is compassion, to lead with compassion. That means no matter what's going on with whoever, that word compassion has to be the first thing that pops into your head before something comes out of your mouth. So even in the back of my mind, I'm sitting there listening going, you're not a 10 out of 10 because you haven't done anything yet. You'd be rocking it out right now if you're a 10 out of 10. You got to come with compassion and reevaluate for them. So once again, this isn't about you. Take it, use it, make it your own, but this is about what you're going to do with your team. Is that cool? All right. You guys, have I lost you yet? Are you still doing okay? All right. So when we, you know how in a 9-day action plan, we talk about the financial goals. So what I've added is, because people would write down their 30-day goal, 60-day goal, 9-day goal. And I just want to ask you guys this, and you might be different, but I've been asking people as I do this presentation for all the different leaders, How many of you have consistently hit your 30, 60, 90-day goals in your action plan? Thumbs up for anybody who does it every time. Awesome. Okay, we got one. All right, and that's cool because I never did. I would always be a month off or a week off or something off. And so what you want to do when you find out somebody's goals, this is for you too. Set some other goals. I want you to set a relationship goal. Because I find out before I put you out there, I want to know what your relationship goal. That means that if it's a date thing, if it's something with your kids, if it's something in the family, I want to know a goal for your family. What's going to happen with your family? Because I'll write it. I have a sheet. All these questions I'm asking are on a sheet and I fill it out. All right. And so family goal is number one. Number two is a personal goal. What are you up to? Is there a gym? Is there a physical activity? What is it that you'd love to do? Maybe like for me, I want to get out instead of dirt biking 1 hour a day. I want to be out there like more than that. Dirt biking was huge for me, right? It doesn't matter, but it's a personal goal. Because if that financial goal is not met, remember, this is all a big psychological game. You're thinking, gosh, those guys on stage met their goal. What's wrong with me? But if you start to meet other targets in your life, what it's doing is it's slowly lifting up your vibe so that you're going to be hitting your goals, as opposed to the entire focus just being on finances. Make sense? Okay. So when you're connecting, because this is still boils back down to connecting, you have to imagine this. You're out there. You're armed. You have all your fast facts that if anybody asks anything, you're golden. You don't even have to break a sweat. You can give your 3 fast facts. If someone says anything about Jim and Kathy or Eric, or they want to know about this company or why should I join this company, you're right there to give a really beautiful story about each one of them. And when people ask you a little bit, well, hey, listen, what are you up to? You can share your truth because you have your vision and you have your goals. So the last 2 things I want to talk about, I talk about usually a time commitment, because really why you want to do that, guys, is the time commitment, you match it to what their goals are. And if their time commitment is lower and their goals are higher, it's your job, right, to say, hey, listen, we're going to have to either increase the time or decrease the goal, because right now, you want to get to 1 star at, an hour a day. It's probably not going to happen as quick as you wanted to with the 90-day game plan. So there's something that Mac Larson, he was in Nanaimo about 3 years ago, and he used to say, what questions do you ask your team? And it ended up being in the 90-day game plan. I don't know if it's still there now, but I used to say, I'd say to people, in order to get something that you've never had before, you got to be willing to do things that you've never done. Would you agree? And people would say, yes, of course. So I'm going to ask you this. When we talk about the stop, start, continue, and this is what they forgot to continue in the 90-day game plan, but they do have the stop and the start, which is cool. I want to talk about tomorrow morning. What are the things that you are going to stop tonight that get in the way of what those goals are? And what we usually do is I go through some trick questioning. I'll say, hey, listen, have you seen Game of Thrones on Netflix? Oh my gosh, I watch that every night. I'm like, okay, cool. And so when we go through the stops and starts, I get to think of things that, where could you shave time off of to give to your business? Because you've heard that phrase, there's no BV in TV, right? So I want you to imagine that you've now nailed all your fast facts. You have got your goals. You have your stop, start, and continue. Now, when you go out to connect, you're doing it as a different individual. And when you expect your team to be doing what you're doing, you better arm them the same way, because they deserve it. They deserve to know that, hey, listen, out of my 10 people I'm going to talk to, I'm going to get 2 no's. Because here's where the connecting language comes from. For those that have seen my presentations, I've always come up with some kind of language that you would pull out from the conversation. So not really crafted that it's mine and I got to sound like Kyle. No, it's just things that you learn from the conversation. But here's what I do now with the team. We go through this little interview so that they're set up. And here's what you would imagine. So I'm going to take Tammy again, and I'm going to use, let's say that Trisha, her first PET is Tammy. All right. So just like a three-way call, I would be on the line, or as I always do them on Zoom call, it would be me with Trisha, and I would do this interview with Tammy. Okay? But Trisha's just listening. Because guess what Trisha now has to help Tammy grow? She gets to resort back to every single one of her answers that she gave here, as well as she can call her up and say, hey, listen, what are the fast facts for Ionic Supreme? Do you want to go over them? Hey, listen, do you want to go over the you share, they share? It gives you something to do with your new associate to make sure they're still on their train track. Does that make sense? That's why we do that. Because when they're out connecting, it's our job to go, how are we fueling their mind to make sure that they can do a good job? So week one, here's what we have you do. Week one is all about active listening. So for your new person, what I have them do is I have them grab a journal. And so for every person that they connect and talk with, their job is to not talk about isogenics at all. If it comes up, great, but there's no intention around isogenics. What kind of company is isogenics, right? It's a solutions-based company. So I want for you, for the first time, because you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you should be listening twice as hard as you are speaking. So go out there, and when you're with people, what are you picking up on? So when you come home or you get in your car, you write down that person's name and the things that you picked up on. Maybe they yawned. Maybe they complained about something. Maybe they wished that they were doing something different. Maybe they were complaining that their neighbor went on holidays and they're not. The things that skip past you on any regular day is what I want you to do for a week. Because that's where your skill of connecting comes from. It's not a special word or phrase or language. It's an awareness. So if I can bestow upon you to practice your awareness muscle, you're going to become a master connector, I guarantee you. So the first week, it's all about the awareness muscle and what you wrote down. Second week, you have an option to go back to the people that you already spoke with, as well as listening with new ones. Because here's what you would do. There's a fear that people have. There's a word that they don't want to hear when they're out there connecting. What is it? No. They don't want to hear the word no. So we're going to go into a little bit of psychology here. Imagine you're out there and you're talking with people, and you've heard of some of the things that they've complained about. Maybe they complained about their weight, their energy. I mean, it's the lethargic time of year. There's so many people complaining about the weather because they say they're starving for vitamin D. Yeah. I don't know where you guys live, but we have like a copious amount of snow, and we're in a rainforest. It's not supposed to happen here, but we have a lot. So you're hearing a lot of complaints out there. So the second week, what your job is to do is to be able to say to the person, hey, listen, if there ever was a way that you could, whether it be release those pounds, or if there ever was a way that you could have more energy, because I've noticed you've been yawning quite a bit, would you want to learn about it? If there ever was a way to XYZ, would you want to learn about it? That's all I have you say. Once again, you are not talking about isogenics this week yet. All you're saying is if there ever was a way. Because when the person goes, yes, why? Your job's to go, I'm just curious. And you drop it. But what do? You put the person's name in your journal, and you start to, this is how you're filling your funnel. And you know of all the different things that they have told you, or they've said, or they've indicated, or they've complained about. And so you took a week where you said, if there ever was a way, would you be open to learning about it? And guess what you've collected a whole bunch of? Yeses. I haven't had anybody on the team or myself where they've come and said, no, I don't want to. If there was ever a way, no, I don't want to learn about it. It's just one of those things. It doesn't happen. So now what's happened to that little space in your brain, that place where you don't want to have rejection, you don't want to hear the word no, what have you done? You've reaffirmed to yourself that I just asked a question. I got to hear yes. I was not attached to anything. We didn't talk about isogenics. Yippee-ki-yay. Week 3. You now have a follow-up list from week 1 and week 2. And there's still new people that you're meeting because you have become such a master listener. You've created your awareness skills more than ever because you go, oh my gosh, this actually is fun. I used to think that when trainers on stage would say this is fun, I go, you are full of because I am not having fun. I'm getting more no's than you can shake a stick at. This actually sucks. I've degraded my belief level from a 10 down to a 1 because that's all I keep getting is rejected. What do you mean it's fun? That was me. I used to sit there and listen to Kirk Matz, who became one of my mentors, and I go, you are so full of shit. Sorry for swearing again, but I'm just, remember, to tell you the truth. And so this is how I want you to make it fun, because you don't have any attachment the first 2 weeks. Here's week 3. You actually get to put the rubber to the road. Now, instead of saying, if there ever was a way, you can say, hey, listen, if there was a way that I can help you with that situation you got going on there with that you keep talking about your jelly belly, would you ever be open to learning about it? Yeah, I would. Why? This is all you got to do next. I hope you guys are writing this down. I know it's being recorded. It's so important for you guys to know a little bit about your story. Because when you share your experience about something, it provides a massive edification. And even if your experience about that person isn't the same thing, you can draw from a lot of experiences that you know relate to that person. You can say, I've been working with a group of individuals who actually were talking about the same thing you are, and they've had incredible results. In fact, can I share mine? And even if it's different, it's still a result. And people go, well, I don't know my story. I don't know what to say. This isn't your 30-second story. And the 30-second story has a purpose. The 30-second story's purpose is to create a system for you to be able to learn how to actually speak, right? It's a template. And templates are so important inside this profession. The story I'm talking about is I want you to imagine this right now. Imagine tomorrow you get a phone call. We all get an email. And Isagenix is gone. Knock on wood, I know. But I want you to write down on a piece of paper right now, what is it that you would miss? What would you miss about the products? What would you miss about the income? What would you miss about the culture? What would you miss about anything that you've experienced from Isagenix? What would you miss? See, when you write down the things that you miss, you just now hit the fast street right to the things that are part of your story, because that's where your truth is. I just had to use an ugly wave to get it. So that's what you get to share with the person who says, why? My gosh, you know what? 2 years ago, I was like a closed door. I was not open to anything, but someone introduced this system to me. You don't have to say product, just say system. This system to me, and what it did is it gave me my energy back. And it absolutely blew me away. I had no idea. And as a little ancillary benefit, man, I dropped like 5 pounds. I got my 6-pack back. It's crazy. It's always your enthusiasm about how you share those things. Now, you ready for step 3? This is where Kyle used to make his mistakes, remember? Man, oh man, I would be able to just go into a little bit of detail with you right now about Shilajit and how it's harvested from the Himalayas. And when you break down Shilajit, there's a stuff called fulvic acid, and there's these dibenzo alpha pyrones, or like little sponges inside there. And what they do is they wring out all this goodness into your cell, blah, 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 right? That's what I used to do. And I see a lot of people still doing that. They're trying to defend and promote Isagenix. You don't have to. So, you asked the question. They said yes. You said, hey, listen, I got to share a story with you. And it could be somebody else's or yours. And they're like, oh my God, what is this? Or what do I do? I want you to write this down. Actually, it's going to be recorded, so you can do it then, but I'll try to say it slowly. The best thing that I can do for you right now is put you in contact with the person who helped me achieve my results. So the best thing I can do for you right now is put you in contact with the person that helped me achieve my results. Not only will they be able to answer any of your questions, but more importantly, they'll be able to customize a system to fit your needs if you choose this as a fit. So, that's the only script I teach the team. Right there. It's such a vital script. Because the thing that was a very, very strong component, you'd hear people like Jimmy Smith talk about it on stage. You'd hear people like Lynn Hagedorn talk about it on stage. The people who are like ridiculously wealthy, like Jay Bennett, you hear him talk about it on stage. And what's the one thing they talk about that grows their business the fastest? Can anybody tell me or signal or type what it is? It's a very, very, it's actually, it involves this really like ancient thing. Most people don't know what it is anymore. I'll hold it up. I hope you guys recognize it. It's a telephone, and it's called a three-way call, where you get to talk to somebody. Yes, you're not typing, you're talking. So I'm being facetious, but really it's kind of true. If you look around you right now, there's just so much stuff happening online. So we've gotten away, our team, once again, I'm teaching you my mistakes, our team slowly got away from doing three-way calls. All our calls now revolve around training on three-way calls. So we give some meat and potatoes and then right into the three-way call. Meat and potato, three-way call. In fact, there's a contest every single week on three-way calls. There's a grand prize at the end on three-way calls. Three-way calls, three-way calls. Because the biggest university you're ever going to get, honestly, is when you get onto a three-way call and you start to go, oh my gosh, okay, that's what they say when people say that. Well, that's how they demystify that belief. Oh my gosh, I thought they can only afford a 30-day. They're getting a president's pack. This is crazy. It's where you're going to learn the fastest way in your business. I used to, and I joke, I have this little thing. It's my three-way call chart. And so I've been teasing people like crazy about it, saying, when we went from 2-star to 4-star in, I think it was 12 weeks or something like that, that thing was full. It was crazy. Three-way call, three-way call, three-way call. That's all I used to do was three-way calls. And then as this social media thing came into, it was like this big wave that came in, and it's a fantastic way to build. I'm not negating it. What I'm saying is that there's been a big detachment away from that personal connection. We went from high tech, getting away from high touch. And so this is about bringing high touch back into your business, because it's going to give you the longevity and the sustainability. But what's the big, there was somebody typed it. There's a key word that we all really, really, really need in our business. It begins with D. It's called duplication. And so as simple as we can make it, hey, we're just going to arm you before you get out in the field so you feel comfortable. I want you to feel comfortable. We're going to practice a little bit. And here's all I want you to do your first week. You're just going to go out and listen. Write down the things you learn. Week number 2, I just want you to go out and say, hey, listen, if there ever was a way, would you be open to learning about it? Yes. Why? I'm just curious. Don't worry about it. And the 3rd week, you get to put the rubber to the road and ask the exact same question again without the word ever. And then they start asking, well, what is this? What kind of stuff? Well, can I just share my story around it? 11 years ago, I was introduced to a system that completely transformed the health of both myself but my family. And you go into your own personal story. And then then you pause. And then they're going to ask you a question. And all you're going to do is say, you know what, right now, I got to go pick up my dog from the grooming stable, whatever. You can come up with anything you want. But the best thing I can do for you, and it's how you say it, the best thing I can do for you right now is put you in contact with the person who actually got me these results. I'm so grateful for them. Because you know why? What they're going to be able to do is they're really going to be able to answer your questions, but most importantly, customize a system to fit your needs if this is something you choose as a fit for you. So it's very polite language. There's nothing entrapment about it. If this is a fit for you, great. If it's not, awesome. But I'm going to make sure that I set you up with the best person to talk to you. Because when you go to the doctor and you maybe have, I'll use a rash on your skin as an example, and he or she looks at it and they say, you know what, I'm going to send you to a specialist to take a look at this. Do you feel ripped off or jaded or you did me wrong? Or do you actually feel good that they passed you on to somebody that maybe a little bit more knowledgeable? I would think that you probably felt a little better to be passed on. So here you are saying the best thing I can do to you, that's why language is key. The best thing I can do for you is this. So how are we doing so far? We're almost done. What else did they say for me to talk to you about? So I just don't want you to, it's not about looking for the power statement, you guys. That's not what this is about anymore. This is just about you and your heart. getting out of your head and getting into your heart, because the stick point's not the power statement. The stick point is just not knowing what to do next, because you're all great at connecting. You've all done it. It's just that you freeze because you don't know what to do next. And then you end up saying something. You're like, oh, damn it, they got away, right? I've gone through that. And I still go through that. It still happens at this day, right? So all you want to be able to do is prepare yourself for that field. Do the same thing for your team. And away we go. So, Trish, are you still there? I think I lost you. I don't know where you are.
She's around. I'm finally here. Oh, I got an echo.
Well, tell you what, if you guys have any questions, I would love it. If you just raise your hand, there's even a hand raise thing on your tab. I'm an open book, like I said. If you have any questions whatsoever, or you have a share or a takeaway from tonight's little soiree, let's hear about it. Tammy, go ahead and mute yourself, girl. Someone else unmuted you? Oh, geez, I just lost everybody.
Who's trying to talk?
Are you there? Can you figure out how to unmute yourself? Okay, so, yeah, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Love it. Awesome. Anyone else? You can ask me anything. You can ask me about a product. You can ask me about business. You can ask me about training. You can ask me about my dirt bike. I don't care.
Okay, I figured it out.
I own a pickup truck. I live on the lake. We fish off our dock. It's kind of funny, you know, the journey. When you think about your life, so when I was a young kid, I grew up in a very small town, but we lived just off of the lake. And for the previous 8-9 years, we lived in a subdivision. It was fantastic because that's where we met some of our closest friends that are all in Isogenics now. But it was always my dream to get back on some property in a lake. And so that was our vision, our why, was to have property. And this came up a year and a half ago. And Sean and Carrie Lynn Owens, some of you may know who they are. They used to live across the street from us. And every time they tried to move, my wife would like voodoo them, and they wouldn't end up moving because we didn't want to break up this amazing thing we had in the block. Well, all of a sudden, we're the ones moving. And we're on holidays, and we're on holidays with them. And I had to tell them. But that's okay because they just moved to a lake too. So any questions before we wrap this up? Anybody out there that would love to? Trish, you're unmuted. Or Tammy, you're unmuted now.
Yes, thank you. Okay, when you tell them that the best thing you can do for them.
Girl, something's going on. I live in Nanaimo, British Columbia, Canada, on Vancouver Island. So when you look at the North America, as far as you can go to the west, you got to jump on a ferry in Vancouver and then take a ferry to Vancouver Island. And I'm central. It's called Nanaimo. Okay, Tammy, I don't know why I can't hear you, girl. You're unmuted on the screen, but I don't.
You can't hear?
Any other type questions that you guys have? I'm just scrolling through the screen.
Can you hear me, Barbara?
I can hear Tammy.
Can Kyle hear you?
What I think happened,
Kyle, can you hear us?
Barbara, is Trisha did a master mute.
Oh.
So it's probably why everybody's muted.
Danny, can you unmute Tammy?
Yeah, Barbara's talking away. Can anybody else hear Barbara, or is it just me?
Tammy's unmuted, Barb.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I got you now. It's me. Tammy, go girl.
Okay. It was you, Kyle. Yay. Okay, good. That makes me feel better.
Anybody can do this business. I mean, it's
Well, thank you for sharing, first of all. It's been great for me because that is my sticking point. At the end, when you're talking week 3, when you're talking to people and saying the best thing I can do for you is to connect you with a person who's helped me achieve my results, how do you end that? Do you say, I'll give you a call or a 3-way call, or how do you wrap that up?
So we have a setting an appointment script number 2. So setting the appointment is basically all you're doing is saying, listen, you know, I know they're pretty busy, but they're available. And I teach everybody to kind of get to know their availabilities for themselves. Your job's to set your schedule. You don't ever want to say to somebody, well, are you free tomorrow? Because they'll remember that, you know, they got to pick up their daughter from ballet and they got to get the oil changed. And all of a sudden that means that their whole day's gone. But when you say, hey, listen, tomorrow night I'm free between 7 and 9 o'clock. If I was to call you between that time frame, which time works best for you? The brain automatically has to choose because you give different parameters. 7 and 9. Let's say that they say it doesn't fit for me tomorrow. You go to the next day and you say 7 to 9 then, and they still say it doesn't fit. This is the only time, I don't have one on me, this is the only time I hand them my business card and I say, what I'd love for you to do is give me a jingle when it is a fit for you. But you got to take them and you put them home on your follow-up list. That doesn't mean they're gone because you gave them your card and said, you call me. Right. But what you don't want to do is keep on keeping on, because you're going to start to look a little bit desperate. So if it doesn't happen the first day and it doesn't happen the second day, you can say, well, what time would there be a fit? Or here's my card. So when they give you the time to continue on with that, Tammy, is that you can be 7 9, say, perfect. Then you talk about the person that you're going to bring onto the call. I'm going to give you a jingle at 9 o'clock. I'm going to have Trish on the line with me. And what's really great is I'm just excited. She's going to be able to answer your questions for you. And really, if this is a fit for you, just customize the system to fit your needs. Before you come to the call, here's what I'd love you to do. And you get their email so you can give them something to look at that pertains to what it is that they're looking for. So people will say, well, how do you get an email from somebody? Just say, you know what? Gosh, I'd love to send you a couple links on this. I think you find them really interesting. What would be the best email I can send this to? Give you the email. Then you determine the time between 7 and 9. And we're going to give you a call then. What number are you best reached at in that time frame? Or what number will you pick up in that time frame? As opposed to saying, can I have your phone number? It just is kind of, it doesn't feel good, especially if a guy's asking a girl or vice versa or any of that kind of stuff. Just say, we're going to give you a jingle between 7 and 9. What number will you be picking up at that time?
Kyle, I have a question in regards to passing them the link, because nowadays with ISA Tools to Go, we can easily just send it to their phone. So do you still like to try to get their email?
Absolutely. You can send something to the phone. You monitor when they see it, but you still have to get an email to send them something.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if it's from your phone or if you do it from your computer. You still have to obtain an email to do that with, right?
Right.
So, awesome.
Thank you.
Now that I've turned up my volume, anybody else have a question? Oh, well, that's funny.
Surely some of you others have questions. Kyle is so wonderful. I have to tell you, you are one of my guy crushes, Kyle, next to David Wood.
Oh, thank you. Terry, did you lift your hand up? Yes, you did. Awesome. Fire away.
Can you hear me?
Christy. Go ahead, girl.
I just had a quick question. You said there was 5 areas of belief, I think you said it was, but for some reason I only got 4 marked down. Will you be going over those 5 again?
So product was number 1. And then what you're doing is just asking, scale of 1 to 10 about the 3 fast facts for the 5 pillars.
Okay.
The company is number 2.
Okay.
Hey, listen, would you be able to give 3 fast facts on the relevance of Jim, Kathy, Eric, and John in regards to isogenics?
Okay.
Number 3 is the compensation plan.
Okay.
How well on a napkin right now, at this moment, could you write out and explain you share, they share to a network marketer? See, okay. I'm saying those things because all of a sudden it puts the pressure on people. They come into their reality very quickly. Number 4 was how much do you love the profession of network marketing? Or you can say, how comfortable are you at saying I'm a professional network marketer?
Okay.
Comfortable. I don't want to say that. That's fantastic. I always say to people, I say, hey, listen, I get zeros across the board lots, so don't worry about it. And they give me their 0, and it's like, awesome. Now you know where they're at. That's more important than them telling you a 10, and you give them a 10 exercise. And then you get frustrated, and they get frustrated. I'd rather know the truth right out of the gates. And then the 5th one is yourself, the belief in yourself being successful in network marketing.
That's the one I missed.
Awesome. And then I think we had Christy was next, and then we'll go Carrie.
All right. Can you hear me?
Absolutely, with my volume loud and clear.
Okay. I've never talked on here before, so this is a first.
Let's give her a round of applause, everybody.
So I know a person who owns a gym, and I wanted to approach him about using isogenics for people and maybe being the coach there. How would you go about doing something like that?
So I would find out if the gym has a website. and I would learn everything about that gym, what they offer, what they do, what goes on. Then I'd want to set up an appointment with the actual owner.
Okay, I know him very well, so
Stick with me. Okay. So you set up a meeting with the owner. Now the questions you're going to ask are things you want to figure out where his pain is. Not physical ouch, but where's the pain in the gym? And just say, hey, listen, what do you love about working here? What have you loved? Like, I've been thinking about doing something as a trainer or a coach. You can see I'm thinking about doing something as a coach, because really that's what we are. We're nutritional coaches, right? I've been thinking about doing something as a coach. What do you love about being in the gym here? And listen to him. And then say, what are some of the things that frustrate you? And he's probably going to talk about, you have to rely on membership. He's going to talk about, sometimes people get frustrated. And to say, what are things that you see most common in this gym? Is it people coming here for weight loss? Is it people coming here to build muscle? Like, what's the most common thing that you see with people coming to the gym? And then you can ask them, what would you determine to be as the success rate for those individuals?
okay.
And then guess what you get to do at the end of all of that? Out of curiosity, can I ask you a question? If there ever was a way where you can actually have a solution for all those areas, would you ever be open to learning about it just out of curiosity? Well, yeah. Okay, cool, awesome. Why do you ask? I'm just like I'm saying, I'm getting into coaching, and I thought the best thing to do is to talk to people I respect the most, and you're one of them. I just want to thank you for this time. Because you're probably going, at that point, you're getting all excited. You may say something that you're not able to say. But now there's somebody on a cell phone that might have to mute again. But what happens is now you have a baseline to go back and say, hey, listen, in regards to our conversation the other day, I've been doing some research, and or you don't have to say research, just say there's been something that's entered my life that I think could be a fit for what you're doing. Would you still be open to learning about it? Because you want to speak all into his pain spots, the things that are driving him nuts, the things that are a pain in the ass, the things that, he gets frustrated with, or, maybe it's compliance. Maybe it's, I don't know. You're going to learn all these things by asking him. But you just say, can you do me a favor? That's another key word. I don't know how many people say no to that, but when you say, hey, can you do me a favor? Yes. You don't get people that say no. Right? Can you do me a favor? Sure. Would I be able to come in and ask you a few questions? Because I'm thinking about becoming a coach myself, and I want to get some information for some experts, because I want to be able to target the audience that I'm going to connect with. Because that's what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Does that help out?
Yeah, that is great. Good stuff. I'm going to have to rewatch it and write it all down.
Awesome. And there was somebody else that was after you, I think. Carrie, that's right.
Okay, Carrie will be our last one.
I'll make it quick. Two things is, how do you measure goal to time?
So, if you're just starting and you don't understand the typical relevance, the thing is that we see a lot of stuff from stage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is that when you see that stuff from stage, you think of it as the norm. Mm-hmm. I would love to have a university or a celebration where nobody steps on that stage unless they're 2-star and below as a trainer. Mm-hmm. And we can teach them what to do so that we can hear it from a different standpoint where everybody else is starting from. Most of the time we're hearing it from a standpoint of where they are, not where you are.
Right.
So if you are a beginner and you see someone's goal and their time and you don't see it, you're going to have to ask up and say, hey, listen, do you feel this as an appropriate goal or an achievable goal? And what I would do is I would say, well, tell me about the individual. What do you like about them? What is it that had them attracted to Isagenix, and why do they want to do this? Because it really boils down to why they want to do it. So if they say that they want to hit, 1 star from 0 in 90 days, yeah, absolutely, it is achievable. But you're going to have to kind of take a look at what their daily habits are, what they're willing to start, what they're willing to stop, what they're willing to continue. That's why all different components of that interview are so key, because it gives you evidence as to, yeah, you know what, I think you can do this. Because, man, the answers you've been giving me are so powerful. You've got this. Where some people are like, well, I mean, we're doing good and things are well. And yeah, I think it would be good to have some extra income. Yeah, that'd be good. That's not going to be the person that's going to hit 1 star. So it's kind of a wishy-washy answer, but really it's so variable. But the rest of those questions give you evidence as to what they're capable of.
Okay.
Awesome.
So a request, I don't know if anybody else had the same one, but I think I saw it on chat, was will you do a 3-way training of some sort? Or is there a tool that can help us? You could say, Carrie, duplication's sake, make it simple, go to this tool.
Yes. We're going to do it tonight.
Kyle, I'll jump in here. This is one thing that we wanted Kyle to do, and we just knew we wouldn't have enough time.
Right.
So we will invite Kyle back. He's been so generous with his time tonight, and as you can see, he was just wonderful and gave us all kinds of things to help us be better leaders. So that is what is so great about our fast track. And Kyle, we really appreciate it. You were actually very humble tonight. And we appreciate every little bit of information you were able to feed us. So thank you so much for joining us.
You betcha. I look forward to the next time, you guys.
Okay, we'll set up a scheduled time on a 3-way with you.
Beautiful.
Okay, and I want to end the night with you guys. For those of you that weren't at NYKO, Kathy came out at the end and had a mantra. So I'm going to have you guys say that mantra back with me, because it's very powerful, and I've got this plastered all over my house. So are you ready? So you guys unmute yourselves, because here we go. Danny, can you unmute everybody? Okay, I am a powerful force. I will succeed and go to the top.
I have the courage.
I have the courage to step up.
I have the courage to step
I will
up.
help my team succeed. Nothing will stop me. I am an achiever. I am a true leader. I will step up. I will step up. I will step up. All right. That's for all of us, and that's where we all are going to be. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you being willing to step up to the next level. And Kyle, thank you again for everything that you've provided for us. Okay, you guys say your goodbyes.
Thank you so much. Thank
You're
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Awesome. Thank you.
Get everything into the system. Open.